Good evening, YouTube. It is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle The Happy Medium, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all. It's been a while, maybe it's a couple of weeks, but so we're certainly going to be getting a lot more of these regular lives in. A few of you are already here, so Bailey Boy's already left me a message, so good evening to you, Bailey Boy, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. I think it's morning or afternoon for you, actually. I think you're one of my US lot, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I will read your comment out in a minute. I'm just going to do this, and then we are all for it. Vicky Little's in. Another Vicky's in. Afternoon to you and all. Billy Boy say, one day I'll take the time to change my screen name. Look forward to your live. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, my friend. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. As many of you know, I'm always wanting to help the industry in some way. Do forgive me, I'm a little stuffy. I don't know whether it's a touch of cold or it's just a touch of hay fever. I can't quite make my mind up, I've got to be honest with you on that one. Morning out there, is it? Hi to Jackie who's in as well, so nice to have you here, Jackie. Pleasure to have you all. You, by all means, you can start with your questions. DMs in as well. Hiya Danielle, hello. You can put your questions in the comments box. If I miss any of them, there is some moderators on. I'm sure they will prick my interest in order to double back on your comments. The floor is yours. We're here to talk about not just mediumship, but development, psychic development, whatever it is that's on your mind. I'll try and answer to the best of my ability. I don't have all the answers, and I never progress to say that I do. I always try to answer them not only from my own personal experience, but also from the knowledge and understanding that I have from the spirit world also. So by all means, if you want, get yourselves away and you can type in the box. While I'm here, I'll talk about some of the more interesting, maybe to me, and maybe to you lot. No, it's Melanie. Hello, Melanie. It's nice to have you here. It's nice to have a name to the DM, so thank you for that. DM always makes me think Instagram, you know, DM messages. It always makes me think of that. But it's nice to have you here, Melanie, and certainly do put your questions in the comments box, and I'll certainly take a look. If you want to share this, Mary's in. Tessa's in as well. If you want to share this into groups, on your wall, you know, whatever you want to do, by all means do so. It certainly helps with the algorithm of Instagram. That's because I've been talking about Instagram. YouTube. Give it a like. Give the video a like. It certainly helps again with the algorithm on YouTube. You know how it goes. And certainly do get involved. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the courses I've got coming up. So I have some new courses coming up, excuse me, we're now in June. There'll be June time. We've got nothing left till June, due to sell out of many classes. So if you're interested in the 6-week classes that I do, I run a beginners one, I run an all levels one as well. That's going up on Friday this week. So if you want to head on over to the website, which is www.theoddbodschoolofmediumship.com, you can also find my new school, which is now up and on its feet. I'm very excited about that, I've got to be honest. And that's going to be available for the first course, which is in June. Now it takes students from not only the UK, but also worldwide, due to obviously the pandemic. You know, I do appreciate that international flying is still a bit of a problem. I'm finding that a bit of an issue with regards to some of the work that I'm having done myself. So by all means, I understand that some of you, excuse me, may not be able to get in due to international travel, but it is available for all of those UK based, obviously doing COVID guidelines and all of them things above. So that's what we have available for you. If you're not already with the Facebook page, please do find us on Facebook or Instagram. You will certainly be more than welcome to join them other platforms. It's always a pleasure to have you with us over there as well. And we do have a development group, which we also run. That can be found on Facebook also, so certainly do check out all of the things that I've spoke about. Kathy's in. Hello, Kathy, love. I hope you're all right. So the floor is now yours. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. I'll certainly get involved with your questions, and like I say, my answers will be you know, to the best of my ability. I cannot guarantee anything, but I'll certainly do my very, very best. So the floor is yours. I'm going to blow my nose again because it's running like a tap. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but we'll work with it as we do. Maybe just a bit of hay fever. The weather's been very, very nice here in the UK today. I've got to be honest. It's been very, very sunny and very, very warm. So yes, I'm very excited. So when you're ready, ladies, gentlemen, and all those sitting in the background, if you want to type, by all means type away, and I will certainly answer your questions. I do know that Kathy has a question because she emailed me the question, so I'm sure, and it was actually a very good question, actually, Kathy. So I'm looking forward to answering that one for you, and for those. So here's the first one in. Lemon Pie says, "Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are." Lemon, I know you are behind it, but I can't remember the time frequency. Anyway, does your voice change when you do trance, or is it just your voice? So, for those who I know, I mean, hello, Dale, my spiritual friend, how are ya? I don't know what's the matter with this, I don't. It's only come on in about the last hour and a half, but I have been doing some bits and pieces today. So answering Mary's question, which is lemon pies. Basically, when we first start doing trance, for those who don't know what trance is, I'll just sort of give you a brief overview. It's a part of the mental mediumship parameters, but it's allowing more acceptance of the mind. So the mind is more allowing of the spirit world to be able to work with the database, the subconscious, you know, in order so that they can give us a better viewpoint. When we do mental mediumship, as in clairvoyance, as in there's a lot more of the medium involved there, whereas when we do trance, there's less and less medium. So we give more awareness is the best way I can put it. With regards to your question, does your voice change? Over time, yes. When we first start doing trance, this is not channeling. Channeling something completely different. Channeling is picking my pen up and channeling where this pen has been and who's had it and where it was made and all the rest of it. Trance is where we will bring through evidential facts to prove the existence of the spirit world. Channeling is just this is this world, the 3D world is the best way in labels or whatever terminology you want to put on it. So in the beginning, when we do what we call the spoken word, it has to come from the medium. The first word has to come from the medium. Once that comes through, it probably will have tinges of you, because it depends on how much you're in the way, as we would say. A bit the same as ordinary mediumship. The more in the way you are, the more involvement you are within that communication. And it's the same with trance. The more involved you are, the more it'll probably sound a lot like you. As you give more and more acceptance, and the spirit world gains more and more acceptance of the mind, it starts to sound more and more like the spirit world. So for your answer in short to your question is yes in the beginning, but as you do more and more of trance, your voice will change. I tend to find, because I train trance, as I watch them, and as the medium or the instrument releases and lets go, the tone of the voice changes, and then what we start to get is more and more of a sounding of that guide or that loved one, depending, because when we do trance, we can either be bringing through loved ones, which is evidential mediumship, or we can actually be bringing guides through, which is the people in which that work with you on a day-to-day basis as mediums in development. So for the newbie medium, there's always an element of the medium in there, but with tones of the spirit world. And as they do more and more of the development, it changes and becomes more and more, and sounds more and more, and changes more and more towards the spirit world, whether it be the loved one or the guide. It depends on which arena that they're sitting in, or which arena they're doing, basically guides or loved ones. But you can do both, or you can just do one or the other. It totally depends on you as the instrument and what the spirit world are trying, because you've got to remember, with trance, as with mental mediumship, it's all an experience. It's an exercise, as I can put it. It's an experiment is probably the better word I could use. So it can depend on the instrument and what the spirit world's looking to experience through that instrument. But in short answer to your question, in the beginning, there'll be elements of the medium. As you move further down, it will change and become more and more and more of the spirit world. And that's just an acceptance and an allowance of the mind. So I hope that answers your question a little bit for you there. Del saying, he's laughing at me, blowing my nose. Right. Tess is saying, how do you explain to a sitter how a reading will work? What they should say, what they shouldn't say, etc. This is a sort of what I call the script. Every medium is going to be different. No two are going to be the same. I've got to be honest with you on this one. Every medium is going to do it differently. It depends on your integrity. It depends on where you sit within your ethical boundaries. What you've got to take into consideration there, Tess and all, is, are you doing psychic work or are you just doing mediumistic work? Because, or are you doing both? Because the problem with this is that you're going to find that with psychic work, it's going to be very different to evidential mediumship. And if you're blending the two, there's going to be some different boundaries or different sort of things that you're going to say to the sitter. So it's always going to have to be profiled in whatever type of reading you're given. Once you've got the type of reading, it's with the golden rules I do is for me, I don't question the sitter. It's a big no for me, and I got to be honest, and I see an awful lot of it with regards to the movement, and I appreciate that everybody does it differently, but for me, questioning a sitter is sort of robbing you of your development with the spirit world, and I don't always think that people recognise that when they're doing sittings. Another one is, you never tell somebody bad things, because really, in all honesty, why would you want to frighten somebody and take somebody's experience away from what is probably one of the most life-changing things, especially as you've just said to me there, evidential mediumship. If evidential mediumship is done well and done right, it can fundamentally change that grief process massively, to the point where that person can then start and live again. Because when we lose somebody, we struggle to accept sometimes that loved one has gone over to the other side, especially if they've gone very suddenly, or they've gone in a maybe a not kind way, or we've never get a chance to say goodbye, is probably the best way I can put it to you. So certainly not saying, you know, bad things is a definite no. Another one would be to say to a sitter either a yes, no, or you don't know. And I know a lot of mediums that I work with and I share knowledge with sometimes have a bit of a toughie with this one. And it's not that it's a toughie, it's just that you have to be in control of the sitting, if this makes sense. So as you're working with the client, the clients are lovely. I love them. I've done sittings for years, but they like to help you, right? But they're not doing you any favours. I got to be honest. So you've got to learn to be, you know, quite strong with them, but in a very empathetic way. So i.e., if a sitter was wanting to start and tell me, you know, a little bit, I would say, I'm grateful that you want to help me, but, you know, I would appreciate it if you just answered me yes, no, or you don't know. And I think when you start at the very beginning of a reading, it's important that you find out if a client's ever been for a reading. I think that's probably the best place to go, because a client who hasn't had a reading is going to need more explaining. So you would explain who you are, you would explain what you are going to do, you would explain what you would want from the client, you would say to the client at the end, if there's any questions, by all means they are more than welcome to ask them questions. So for me, it's important. Then we have to look at the client who's been for many readings. They know the drill, they know what's going to go on, so it's important that you stay within them ethical boundaries and you don't step over them. If you're doing psychic work, it goes on. And you know, I don't mind a bit of psychic work from time to time, I've got to be honest with you. It's an important part of your development, and I think sometimes it gets a bit of a rap, psychic work. But for me, you know, it's important that mediums understand both parameters, because if you don't understand both parameters, then you don't understand when you're working with the mediumistic ability and when you're working with the psychic ability. So I think it's an important part of your development. So for me, you know, when we're doing psychic work, make sure that you're staying away from, you know, financial problems, you know, you're staying away from jobs. You didn't tell somebody to leave the job, you know what I mean? Christ didn't do that. You know, laws are changing massively around readings and around platform work and demonstrational work, and it's health's another one. Don't even get into them parameters of health and talking about health and, you know, telling people this and that and the other in regards to health, because you're not a doctor, you don't have a PhD, nor do you have an MD if you're in the US. And you can get yourself in all sorts of hot water, like, I've got to be honest. So in answer to your question, Tess, there's a lot of, for me, I always align the client up so the client knows what's coming before they before the reading even starts. And I think as long as you keep a control, another thing, plenty statements, then questions. Don't be questioning your sitter and asking for every bit of evidence, and that's a biggie. If I can give anything to you, that would be my biggest one. Work your nose, that's another one I need to tell you when you're doing sittings. That's another thing. Be honest, be open. Be truthful with your work. If you ain't got it, didn't give it. Didn't make it up. If it's not there, didn't give it. Because you're leading the client down the garden path, and that's not always fair and true and accurate neither. So for me, I would sit down and ask yourself, as the medium, what is it that you want from your sittings? What is it that you're looking for? Where is your integrity? Where is your professionalism? Them types of things. The best thing to do is ask yourself, what would you want off a sitting? How would you want a sitting to go? Because how you want a sitting to go is fundamentally how you'll produce your sittings. That would probably be the best bit of advice I'd give you there with that one. And I always said, and I said this right off the bat when I did a lot of sittings, I always wanted a message from my nana in the way that I would want to give a message. And my nana and my son's in the spirit world. If I could get a message from them the way that I could give a message to somebody else, then I'd be a happy woman. And that served me very well over the years, I've got to be honest. So certainly take what resonates with you, dump the rest, you know what I mean? I hope that's been of some help to you there. DM saying, what beginners all about if you have time to let them know what it's about? Questions for Melanie. Right, so what is the beginner's course about? The beginner's course has what I feel and what the spirit world feel is the most important thing for a beginner medium. Now, I don't actually list what's in my classes, and there's a good reason why I don't do that. And I'm not here to discuss that, nor do I want to discuss that. But trust in me and trust in my spirit team that whatever's in that class is there for all of the right reasons, and it's there because it's what me and the spirit world feel is right for the beginner, to get the beginner where the beginner needs to be. So I hope that answers your question a little bit there. A little bit of trust in me, a little bit of trust in my team will give you a long way. And that's a big thing, when you're booking classes and you're paying for classes and all this. You've got to trust in the person that you're working with. You've got to trust in that person who's sharing knowledge. If you didn't trust in them, then you're always questioning whether or not it was the right class for you. And I'm a big believer in that if you trust in the person that's sharing knowledge with you, you'll never go far wrong. So I hope that answers your question a little bit there for you, my love. Timothy's in. Good evening, Timothy. Bailey Boy's saying, is there a difference from automatic writing and taking notes that feel like automatic writing prior to giving a message? Yes, asking for a friend. We talked about this. So, let me talk a little bit. So, automatic writing is where you have moved your mind to the spirit world. You have allowed either the loved one to step forward or the guide, and they have taken a hold of the mind and have now started to take hold of elements of the nervous system in order to move the pen, in order so that the pen and the movement of the spirit world is writing it, if this makes sense. That's what automatic writing is. It is where the spirit world has taken hold of the mind, has taken over the nervous system, and is now starting to write using the instrument, a bit like trance. They take over the mind, they then have more awareness and a hold of the mind, and then they get a hold of what is the voice box and start to speak through the instrument. It's the same with automatic writing, only you're writing it instead of speaking it. Now, this question come up in my US class. And it's what I see happen an awful lot. And I see it in circles. I have circles that I run, open circles and stuff here in the UK and also online. Mediums who will, before they come into a circle or come into a classroom, will pull a link. Now, what I mean by pull a link is they will pull a communication or a deceased loved one from the spirit world, take all of the information that particular loved one is giving, write it down, and then bring it into circle now, or into class or whatever. Now, the problem with this is that was at 5 o'clock, so that is time. When your circle doesn't start or class doesn't start at 7 o'clock, there has been a 2-hour time frame. Your mind is not in the same place as it was when it took that message. Therefore, you cannot go back in time. You can't. There's no way. That isn't allowed. It doesn't happen. So you've got all of this message on a bit of paper, and 90% of it is wrong, but 2 bits of it is right. but yet you can't go back to that space and that time and clean up that information because your mind is in a totally different place now, in a totally different time frame. Therefore, if you were to get that loved one back, your mind would be different and therefore would take the information differently. And that's a big thing I say go on. And what mediums don't realize is that you can't clean that up, because when you take that in that time at 5 o'clock, that's exactly where it was meant to be. If you go back, if you do that, if you bring that communication forward at 7 o'clock and try to fix all that's wrong on that paper, you will either be after it or before it, but never in that same space and time you were at 5 o'clock. So there's no way that you can clean up the bits of information. And this is what I say to mediums: do not pull a link or pull a deceased loved one or a loved one until it is your time. Otherwise, what also happens is you start to get involved in the communication as well. So you start adding bits in, your conscious mind starts to get involved. You start to then basically make things up, or your imagination will kick in and you will be adding bits onto the communication as well. It's a big no-no for me, like that one, I've got to be honest. People writing information down and then bringing it into class or whatever. It's also telling the spirit world you don't trust in them. And that's what you've got to be careful when you're doing that type of thing. And it's not that I'm trying to be mean. What you've got to understand is you're saying to the spirit world, oh, well, I don't trust you in class. I don't trust for you to bring me a communication through. I don't trust that you're going to give me the right evidence for the people in the room. And therefore, you then tell the spirit world that you have a lack of faith in them, yourself, and therefore you need some sort of tangible, because that's what you're doing. You're making it tangible. You're taking that communication, you're writing it on paper and you're making it tangible, instead of working that link as it hits your mind through your mouth and out to the sitter. So be very, very careful with that one. Now, that's not trying to be mean to people, and I'm not trying to be offensive or anything like that. I'm trying to help you have a better awareness and a better understanding of your mediumship. Because, and another thing that just come to us there, if you are on a private sitting, if you're doing private sittings professionally, or you're doing them as in on a rostrum, as in platform work here in the UK or across the world, there is no way you can sit and write, you know, on a platform mediumship night, a special, or a divine service where we have a congregation of people. You can do anything up to 5 to 6 messages on a Sunday service, and up to around 10 to 15 on an hour and a half service. There's no way you can write all their messages down and read them off a rostrum. You just couldn't do it. It's not allowed. So what you're doing is and for me, and this is probably, people might find this a little offensive, and it's not personally meant as offensive, it's a bad habit. It's a bad habit, and it's a lack of faith, and it's a lack of trust in the spirit world. That's not even including all the mechanics and the time frequency and that I've given you there as well. Careful with that one. I say it a lot, and it's not helpful for your mediumship at all in any capacity. So I hope that answers your question a little bit there for you, Bailey boy. Kathy's saying, I did a reading for a woman and brought through her teacher. Yep. She made the comment, I don't know if this matters, but she was African American. I didn't say the spirit colour, right? I never thought about that before because I didn't think, but now as a people are people, whatever colour. So my question, does colour, ethnicity matter in spirit? No. No, makes no difference. When we all go back to the spirit world, we are all what we, as the spirit world puts it, we are conscious. So levels of consciousness, whether you're black, whether you're purple, whether you're green, whether you're white, it's of no difference to the spirit world. What they're interested in is the level of consciousness, or the level of awareness in which that you have gained through experiences, knowledge here to the earth world. With connections to colour, that type of thing, no, that only becomes evidential for the sitter in front of you. So i.e. the person in which that you're giving the communication to would then be able to recognise that because of their colour, their sexuality, their race, whatever it may be. But in the spirit world, it makes absolutely no difference at all. Only when we bring it into the parameters of evidential mediumship would it matter. So I hope that answers your question in that regards. DM saying, so Danielle, do your psychic work. Excuse my spelling, it's alright. And you've said all things that wouldn't get to a health job. What's left to say? That's it, really. For psychic work, what you've got to understand what psychic work is here, right? Is that we all have free will, every one of us. And while, yes, some people can predict babies, can predict new love coming in, maybe them types of things, maybe can predict there's going to be an issue with a car or a loss of a ring or a phone or, these types of things. What you have to understand is you change the course every day, through your thought-based matter, the way in which that you think, the choices and decisions you make. I'm a great believer in what's meant for you will never pass you by. I'm a big believer in that. Whether that be relationships, whether that be people who you meet. I don't believe that we meet anybody by convenience. I think that everybody we meet is for the greater good. Everybody that's sitting on this stream this evening is here for all the right reasons. They're here for the spirit world's manufactured that, or the universe has manufactured that so that it is the way it is. I'm a big believer in that. And I'm a big believer in that, we meet people, things happen because they're an experience. We're to grow from them. We're learning something. We're gaining something from it. We're being steered away from something. We're being asked, have we evolved as individuals to find a bigger awareness to the things that we once did, now we do very differently. So I'm a big believer in that. And while I like psychic work, didn't get me wrong, DM. Honestly, I did. You change the course of that every day, because of the choices and decisions and the experiences in which that you go through. So while you can have a psychic reading and they can tell you, all this is going to go off, if you choose to do something different the next day, you could go out tomorrow morning and be run over by a bus. Do you know what I mean? Therefore, that completely and utterly changes the reading. Now, many may say, well, why didn't the psychic say that? Maybe the psychic wasn't meant to see that because there was something in there that you were maybe meant to learn. Maybe look both ways on the road. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I'm a big believer in what's meant to happen will happen. I'm a big believer in that if it's meant to be, it'll be. It might not be right now. It might be 5 years down the line. As humans, we get very caught up in wanting things now. We want to see instant results. And I see this quite a lot in my mediumistic development. And I'm one of them people, or was one of them people. I've learned now to be very more trusting and just accept things for what they are and know that, whatever's meant for me won't pass me by. But in development, and this is probably the biggest thing I can give you, we want to see instant results. And because we don't see instant results, we then think that there's something wrong. We're doing something wrong. And actually, you're not doing anything wrong. What you got to understand is that things take time. For example, most of yous in here, didn't, probably in your second or third home, and even then it's not completely the way you want it, but most of you will be sitting in your 30s, 40s, that's half your life. Do you know what I mean? But you're only in your second or third home, and it's just say maybe getting where you want it to be. Things take time. Development's no different. And you can buy all the courses in the world. You can sit on any class in the world. You can sit with the best of the best. You kind of get away from time. Things happen when they're meant to happen. Things grow when they're meant to grow. You don't plant seeds tomorrow and expect the sunflower to grow up in a 10-foot eye the next day. Do you know what I mean? You got to start and look at development from them. Am I saying don't do classes? No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is you've got to understand that them things are going to take a while to integrate that knowledge. The sitting for the spirit world, developing the personal parameters of the instrument. It all takes time. Most mediums were developing. I've been developing for 7 years, and I'll probably be developing for the rest of my life. Do I know more now than what I knew when I first started out? Of course, because that's a natural progression of my mediumship. But do I have all the answers? No. Will I ever have all the answers? Most certainly not. So for me, when we get into the psychic parameters, sometimes, it can give us some really good hits. Other times, things will change and alter because ultimately that's the way it's meant to be. Psychic work is what it is. I'm not here to say it's right, wrong, or indifferent. Like I say, I do like a bit of psychic work. And probably in answer to your question, what is there to talk about? Well, you've answered the question really yourself, because really you're not in control of anything. You're really, destiny is always a play there. The universal consciousness in which that we all sit in and we all work within is always a play, cause and effect. All them types of things. Babies, relationships, gonna buy a new dog. new car, you know, them types of things, you know, that type of thing. Every psychic's going to do it differently. You know, I mean, I don't do psychic work. I stopped doing psychic work many years ago. I haven't done it for many years. But that doesn't mean to say I don't mind to see a bit of it from time to time, like. So I hope that answers your question a little bit there for you. Financial stuff, you shouldn't be going near financial stuff, because you could predict that somebody's going to, you know, get a job tomorrow and they leave their job the next day after the same day as you did that reading, and that job doesn't come off. That person's then without no job and no nothing. You gotta understand the ethics around psychic work. You gotta be monetarian of what goes on and what you're saying there, because I think sometimes people don't realise that when people come to see the lovely mediums and psychics, we hold an awful lot of power, and I don't think people always realise how much power we hold as that person with that title. And sometimes people believe everything that we say, because people are vulnerable. Sometimes people aren't in a good place, people are struggling, you know. We're just starting to come out of a pandemic of a year and a half where people's been locked in, and people aren't sure where they are, they're not sure where they're going, you know, all these types of things. So it's important that you understand your own integrity, and you understand, probably going back to the question that was asked of me earlier on, make sure that everything you're doing with the right intent. Make sure you're doing it with the best of love and for the greater good of the person who sits in front of you. It's the most fundamental. If you're always doing things from the best of places, you'll never go far wrong. That's how I look at it. So I hope that answers your question a little bit there for you. Spiritual Growth says, I tried an exercise and asked Spirit to show me a random image, which they did as clear as day. Yep. Then I tried with this guide and got shown straight away. But since then, I've not been able to get it again. Right? So what you have to understand is we're not always going to get imagery all of the time. And I know about this an awful lot, because I see a lot of mediums who really need that clairvoyance. They need it, and the reason they need it for is because there hasn't been still enough allowance there, if you can appreciate that. When we're doing, you know, mediumistic work, we're working with the parameters of clairs. We're not just working with clairvoyance, we're working with clairaudience, we're working with claircognilian, we're working with clairsentience, we're working with clairaugustus, clairempathy. You know, they're just some to roll off my tongue. So what we have to understand is that, yes, we can ask for an image and we'll get that image, but we also have to appreciate that the spirit world's going to want to be always developing the instrument. They're always looking to enhance it, because, you know, didn't get me wrong, they're not in competition or anything up there, but they always want their instrument to be, you know, at the very best of it can possibly be. So for me, what I would always say to anybody, while you're getting the clairvoyance, don't get too hung up on that. Learn to develop other clairs, because when you come to do, you know, mediumistic work, development work with readings, or maybe if you're going to go into gallery work, that type of thing, you're going to need more than one clair. You're going to need more than one imagery. You're going to need more than one thing there. So yes, you will get the image and you will get it, but again, you'll only ever get that image that way the once, because your mind's in a different space, different time. So if you ask for the same image, you're going to get it in a different way, because your mind's not in the same place in the same time that you first got that first image. But also there could also be a development of the spirit world wanting to push your mind and push your awareness to allow other elements to come into play there. So I hope that answers your question a little bit there for you. Cool. So no other sort of way, just whatever your guide to say. Yeah, as long as it's done with the right intention. Make sure you're always doing it with the right sort of intent. As long as you're doing it that way, you'll never go far wrong, DM, honestly. Tess is saying, if during a practice reading, yep, I were to get the first statement wrong and say man instead of woman, for example, will spirit accommodate the mistake and bring a man forward? No. That is your mistake as the medium. You got to own that. Somebody else will say a lot. You got to accept as a medium, you're going to get it wrong. You got to be honest about that. You got to be able to take that hate. You got to be able to accept that and take it on the chin. So, for example, here, I'll give you an example. I was at a local church here in the UK 18 months, 2 years ago. And I was on the church, and I went to the back to a man, and I said, can I work with you, sir? And he said, yes. I says, I've got your granddad here. No, I says, I've got your dad here. That's what I said to him. And his reply to me was, no. That was the first statement out my mouth. I went back to the spirit world and I said, who are you, please? And they went, Grandad. I hadn't quite tuned in enough and heard it. So I went back to the gentleman and I said, I have your grandfather here from Dad's side of the family. He said, yes. I turned around, could you, so I turned around to the gentleman and I said, could you forgive me for me not getting it right? And he said, of course. And I said, can I now work with you? And he said, yes. You gotta accept, as the medium, you are going to be wrong. Take it on the chin. If you can't take that, your ego's out. You need to check in with the ego. You have to appreciate that, unfortunately, at times you are going to get it wrong. In fact, that's where you learn the most. I say this all the time to my students. When you're getting it wrong, you're learning the most. When you're getting it right, it's great for your confidence, but you're not learning a great deal. You learn the biggest things when you're getting it wrong. You're also keeping your ego in check, and you're also keeping you in check. Them over there, they're never wrong. It's you that sort of wired that in wrong, or you haven't quite grabbed it, as I would like to say. Your mind hasn't quite accepted it, or your mind hasn't quite heard it properly, or you just haven't allowed that to flush through your mind just that little extra second to grab the rest of it. So but the spirit world will not bring a man forward just because you said man instead of woman. That's where you've gone wrong, and you have to apologize for that and accept that you're wrong and work with that person. And their person, and I say this an awful lot, instead of trying to push it on, why don't you just say, look, I have that wrong. Could you accept now it would be a lady? Yes. And what happens is, in clients, and this is what you've got to understand with clients, platform, anything like this, if you can learn to be honest with the people in front of you, they will appreciate you far more as a medium than you trying to push something onto somebody that isn't right. Because what happens is people go out of platform or sit and work or whatever and go, well, I didn't understand a word of that, but I just said yes because I didn't want to upset the medium. You learn to be honest with your clients. You learn to accept that you can get it wrong, and learn to accept that you're not in the right place, or you haven't got the right spirit communicator, and you take that on the chin and you work with that. I would rather somebody say, here, look, she had it wrong, but she was honest about it, talking about myself, than them turn around and go, well, she didn't out but push that information onto me, and to the point where I just said yes because I didn't want it, I didn't want to say anything else. I would rather 10 people said she was honest about it than 10 people say that about me. And that's the way you got to look at it. That's the way you got to think about it. You got to look at it that way. You got to learn to be humble with your work. You got to learn to be grateful. You got to be grateful for the experiences, because without it, you just become egotistic. Well, I know what I'm doing. I'm right and you're wrong. That's not the way it's got to be. You just got to be humble about it. You just got to turn around and say, I haven't got that right today. I take that on the chin and I keep on moving. And tomorrow's another day. I'll try again. At least I did the best I could, and I was honest with the people in front of me. You'll get a lot further with the spirit world and with your development and with the people you're working with than trying to ram something down somebody's throat. Honest to God, I guarantee you that, like. But in answering short to your question, they will not bring a man forward because you said woman. If you've got a woman and you've said man, you've still got the woman. That's it. So I hope I answered your question a little bit there for you, Tess. Misha's saying, what is the weirdest thing that the spirit world has ever brought through to you? Oh, how? I've seen some strange out stuff over the years. I heard some strange out stuff. Probably the communication on the live was probably one of the more sadder ones, and probably one that really opened my mind up to the awareness that not everybody dies with cancer, not everybody's going to pass with a heart attack. That was quite a toughie for me, I've got to be honest with you, that one, Misha. Other things, I've seen all sorts over the years, Misha, in regards to divine energy. I've been in different parts of the spirit world. I've seen. It's hard to explain sometimes when. Sometimes I don't understand it myself. It's hard to put that into words. Sometimes when I say stuff, it's it's for my mind and my mind only, and trying to explain that never really comes across in the way in which that I saw it, if you can appreciate it, or the way I felt it, or the way in which I got it, if this makes sense. But for me, that one with that communication on the live was a very unusual thing. What's the other weirdest thing I've seen? I've seen all sorts over the years. I don't think anything's really weird. I would say it's more maybe vivid, so vividly more imagery, vividly more coloured, vividly more feeling, like it's an intensity, like the love over there is like intense compared to like the love you feel down here. And I talked about this in my book. Here's my book. If you haven't already got this book, here's a prime chance to give you a look at my book. So this is my second book, Freestyling Mediumship, and I talked about in here about the oneness, and for me, the oneness is something that I found in the spirit world, but I'm yet to find it here to the earth world. And that's an amazing feeling. That's a feeling that, honest to God, I don't think I'll ever find down here, if you can understand that. And that's like, that's a love. It's an unconditional love that just blows anything away down here. And I do look for it down here, but I ain't found it yet. Do I think it's maybe available? Maybe. I don't know yet. I still sort of look for that. I've got to be honest with you on that one. But the weirdest things, I've seen many different things and heard many different things. Some of the times the weirder things is because I'm quite clairaudient. So sometimes I hear the spirit world with my own ears, and that can be a little weird when they shout mom and dad and my name, and it feels like it's like somebody's right there shouting Danielle, and it makes like my body like go a bit weird and that, and like I have to scrunch my neck up. That's a bit weird. I didn't like that very much. That that can be a bit full on. I've got to be honest. That one, yeah. I hope they've answered your questions anyway, Misha. Bailey Boy saying trust. It is the biggest thing I can give you is in any of your development. Honest to God. Trust in yourself. Trust in that team. Trust in what you're being given, and give it. Didn't write it down. Didn't get in all of that. Trust in them. The quicker you trust in them, the quicker you make an allowance. The bigger you're making allowances, the more you're allowing awareness. The more awareness you're getting, the bigger the mind is. The bigger the mind's coming, the more open it's becoming. The bigger it is, the more open it is, the more room you've got for development. It's the number one thing you need in mediumship, I guarantee you, apart from personal development and all that something else you need. Vicky's saying, if a sitter wants to speak to someone particular, can the medium bring that specific loved one forward? So, I do both. And I understand both parameters. Not everybody's going to like this. So, he button up there. And it's certainly not a shot at anybody or anything. This is just my own personal experience. I work on the understanding of free will. Free will not only here, but free will over there. And therefore, the spirit world is always working within the intelligence. And we're going to try and keep up with the science, all right? The intelligence is that the spirit world knows who they need to send in order to help you as the individual. Most people only go for sittings when they're not in a good place. Guaranteed set. That is guaranteed. So therefore, if we were to send mom, who had no experience in the problem in which that you had, but you had an uncle in the spirit world who had mass amounts of experience in the problem you had, more than likely the intelligence is going to be working for the uncle, because the uncle can give you guidance, awareness and understanding of how it is that they can assist you with the problems that you face. Now, will mom be there? Yeah. Guaranteed. That's a must. But it's the intelligence is always that they want, the spirit world are always wanting to help you and guide you and support you in the problems that you face. Now, mom will be there, and mom is available to you, and a lot of it has to do with the medium and how much the medium is aware of all of these things as well, and how much the database is at play. But I will always go with the free will and the spiritual intelligence, and also then look at the awareness of the medium and the medium's mind. And the reason I say that for, and I'll tell you why. I've trained many mediums over the last 18 months. I'm quite new to development, I'm quite new to training. And one of my biggest bugbears that get me in development is the fact that we blame the medium all the time. Now, yes, the medium is to blame in some capacities. I'm not disputing that. But what really gets my goat up is mediums who are trying their best. And you're always trying your best. And I know you're trying your best because I see it go on in my classrooms. You are trying your best, you're doing your best, and you're always trying to give 100%, even when your mind's fighting me in every capacity. So I don't always like it when mediums get a bit of a hit for not bringing through certain communicators, or because mediums haven't done this. And yes, there is always an element of development there. I guarantee that. I look at everything from every parameter. I always see the bigger picture, always in development. But sometimes mediums are just doing what they can, where they can, at where they are right now. And I never ever bash any medium for any development, no matter how small that development is. And if they're only bringing grannies through and grandmas through and granddads through, well then that's okay. That's where they need to be right now. Others may be bringing, homicides through and murder cases. That's okay too. That doesn't mean that medium's any better than that medium, or that medium's any less of a medium than that medium. Their mediums are on two totally different paths and doing whatever it is that they need to do. So in answering short your question is that yes, free will's always a play there in the intelligence, that spiritual intelligence to me and you. But we also have an awareness of the medium and how well the medium, or where the medium is right now within their development. And what I would always say to mediums is you're doing the best you can, and you may get a certain individual through. You can put intention in at the beginning of the sitting and ask for the spirit world to bring the said individual through that they're looking for. But you can't drag somebody out of the spirit world. You can't say, they're coming for a sitting today, you best get down here. That's something else I see quite a lot within the development is we're demanding the spirit world. We're telling the spirit world what to do, and I have to laugh, because that spirit world's a law unto itself. You know what I mean? It's doing what it wants to do, not what you want them to do. And the bit that really bothers me about that statement that I've just said there, and when we're dragging or trying to drag people out the spirit world, I'd hate to think somebody was pulling my son out the spirit world like that. Get down here. She's coming for a reading today. It would absolutely mortify me. I would be so upset that somebody was talking to my son or talking to my nana like that. What you have to understand here is that intelligence is always at work. It's always at play in every communication we do. And what we have to understand is that sometimes the spirit world have got other ideas. The spirit world have the bigger awareness. They have a bigger understanding of what's on the path, even if we don't know what's on that path. And sometimes we have to trust in the process and trust in the understanding of free will and the intelligence that when the time is right, everything will work out beautifully with communications and with particular communicators, what intention we put in, whatever it may be. Is that the spirit world always have our best intentions at heart, always. And I do see sitters go away quite disappointed because certain individuals didn't come through. That's an expectation at the sitter's end. And mediums have a big enough expectation just getting in the chair and doing the communication, let alone the sitter then having an expectation as well of how they think the sitting should go and who should be coming through and what they're going to talk about. That pressure's massive for mediums, massive. And it's not always fair, and I don't always think it's fair for the medium, because the medium's constantly living up to a standard that they don't even know is there. I hope that makes sense to you, Vicky. Good lesson, yes it is. Good evening to those who are just joining. It's a pleasure. I'm with you, Danielle. I'm now thinking about the bus thing. So you see someone getting hit by a bus? No, it was just an example. What, telling them that they got hit by a bus? I would never tell a sitting that. Never, ever. I would never tell them that. Even if I saw it, I wouldn't tell them. If you sit in front of a sitter and absolutely nothing come through, then how would you explain this to a sitter? Tell them straight up. Unfortunately, I'm not receiving anything today. I'm not getting it. I would either invite the sitter back for another sit-in or refund them. You just be honest. You don't have to give them any more or any less. You're just honest. And I think sometimes when you're just honest, that people appreciate the honesty more than you sitting there trying to give them just any old nonsense and hoping that they're going to take a bite, which is fishing to me and you. So we start hurrying out random bits of information, hoping that this is going to go, oh, I can understand John in the spirit world, right? And then where's the additional information for John? There isn't any. So for me, if you're not getting anything, just be honest. Just say it. I'm not getting anything. Unfortunately, there's nothing available here to me. You have to check in with you as the medium, make sure you've shifted your mind, make sure that your mind's in the spirit world. And normally, if your mind's in the spirit world, there will be somebody there, always. Even if it's not the person you're looking for, there will be somebody there. You have to then have a look and see if you're working on a psychic vibration, and make sure that you're not tapping into the oracle field, if this makes sense. But if there's nothing there, the client can't take what you're saying, you stop the sitting and you just explain. Unfortunately, you've been unable to take the information that I'm talking about. I feel that if I continue to push this information upon you, I'll be making you take a reading. Therefore, I'd like to stop the reading and invite you back for an additional reading. If you can't take anything on that reading, it will be a full refund or a partial refund, depending on your T's and C's within your refund policy. Without a refund policy, it's no good, because you have to understand, when you start using money, there's a link for trading standards there. There's a link for, all sorts of things. When you start charging money, you have to have a refund policy up so your client knows what it is that they're getting into. And you must also, when you're selling any kind of product, make sure that within your T's and C's, you make sure that your client knows where to find the refund policy, and that they should, if you actually look on my website, just an example, at the above of every class, please familiarise yourself with the refund policy before purchasing any course. I am duty bound to tell my clients that, or customers or clientele who are looking to buy from me, so that you know exactly what you're getting into before you book a course. That's the law. That's the law. That's what governs you. You have to be aware of them things. So for me, there's a couple of different ways in that regards. But for me, Vicky, if you're not getting anything, one, you got to check in on the psychic parameter. Two, if you're working mediumistically, there should be somebody there. But if it's not working, you either invite the client back for an additional sitting, or you give them a partial refund or full refund, depending on your T's and C's. So I hope that answers your question a little bit for you there. Tessa's saying, my partner's a skeptic. Yep. But when I started getting into mediumship, he had a visualization from a loved one in a dream. He was absolutely sure it was real. Does me learning mediumship help him open up more subconsciously? Might do. Your energy is your energy, his energy is his energy. Maybe, could do, possibly. Everything's energy in this world, Tess. Everything is connected. We're all connected. Each and every one of us in this room is connected by the universal consciousness, and also by the spiritual conscious. We separate ourselves into brackets as humans. Oh, well, these are professional mediums, these are beginners mediums. This is just a prime example. No. That professional medium is no different to this beginner, by the way. I say this in my classes all the time. This beginner is just as good as this professional. And you are probably all looking at me on this, and maybe it's a year down the line when you're watching this video or whatever. You'll be like, well, that's not right, Danielle. But yes, it is right. What makes this person better than this person? What makes this person's links better than this person's link? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Not a thing. Absolutely nothing. It is your mind that makes you think that, oh, well, they've got some title there, and they've got this, and they've got that. Oh, look. Bing, 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 lights flashing. Here's a beginner. You know what I mean? And that's the way humans look at it. So therefore, what you have to get out of the way of thinking is that we're all connected. Every man, every colour, every animal, every plant, every bit of water is all connected. You are no separation from the animal that walks down the road. And you might think, well, but I have more intelligence. Then there's where you're going. I have more intelligence than the animal. How do you know that? You don't know that. That animal may have more intelligence in other areas than the intelligence in which you have in your areas. And this is where mankind has got itself a little stuck. Because we now bracket people and tell people that the homeless man in the street is no better than the man who sits in the mansion. And for me, it's a lack of awareness within the development of an understanding of every man is the same. No man is any different. Only society has made you think that the man that walks in the street is different to the man that stands in your house. And when we start looking at people in that capacity, and when we start looking at the world in which we sit in that way, we will find that we're a lot kinder, a lot nicer, and a lot more appreciated of everybody who works within the collective, because we all have our own space. What you have to understand in the collective of not only this world, but the spirit world, we all have our purpose. We all have our job. We all have an awareness to spread, our light to give, to explore your full potential. The only person who holding you back is you. Nobody is holding you back but your own mind. And you all have your place, and you all have the things that you need to do. We're all here as part of the plan, as part of the divine plan, to part of the consciousness of which that we sit in. Nobody's any better than anybody. And it bothers me a bit that, like, I'm probably getting a bit of my personal spin on there, like I probably shouldn't, like, but I see so much meanness in the world, and I see so many mean things, and it hurts my heart, and I think, but what gives you the right to say that about somebody when you are no better? You're exactly the same. You blood, your flesh, like me. You're no different. Yet we treat people so differently, and I don't know why that is. Like, I've got to be honest with you on that one. Like, my mind kind of quite grasped that. So in answer to your question, probably, maybe, there's always a connection of energy in everything that we do, in everybody we touch, and every soul we touch. So I hope that answers your question a little bit there. Gotta get it wrong for more. Gotta get it wrong more than often. You gotta get it wrong. If you're not getting it wrong, you're never gonna learn out. Love it, Danielle. I love the way you acute information. I love the work. Top, I understand your language. You don't confuse me. I do not confuse myself all the time. I do, honest to God. Where do you find the book? Amazon. It's on Amazon. Check it out over there. It's a good book. I love this book. It's one of my favourites. I've got a couple coming. I've got a couple actually. But yeah. Hello, Tracy, my darling. I hope you're well out there in the US. I fear if I fully open myself up to the store, there is now. Listen to me. So listen. There ain't nothing bad in the spirit world. Nothing. Right? That is a misconception within the industry. It's stuff that's been bled in through people's minds that's fearful, right? I'm working with the spirit world every day. I'm training in excess of quite a few students now. I'm not going to get into numbers because numbers isn't relevant. Not wrong with me. I'm alive and kicking. There's no following me around. Do you know what I mean? What you've got to become aware of here is it's all teaching. And I'm not saying it wasn't the right teaching at the time, because I always say that no teaching's bad, no teaching's good. I never say that. Only the level of awareness at the times in which the minds were sharing that knowledge. But you got to understand that that's outdated. It's old stuff. It's even the mechanics I use, they're in the book. So maybe you want to, Melanie, maybe you want to check the book out. My mechanics are very different. They're quite eye-opening and probably very different to what's out there in the industry. I don't see anybody using them types of mechanics. It was given to me by the spirit world. Now, I'm not saying I'm any better than anybody else. My mind was just available for them to be able to filter that into my mind. And I've had amazing results with it, and it knocks the fear out of mediumship and all. And it's only there's nothing bad in the spirit world. Even going back to the question I answered earlier on, they don't see colour, they don't see race, they don't see this, they don't see that. All they see is levels of awareness. That's all they see. You are what you attract. If you think in negative, you're looking for negative, you're going to get negative. If you're looking for positive and you're working from the best of intention and all the rest of it, that's all you're ever going to get. There is nothing bad in the spirit world though, because everything that was involved with the human body stays here to the earth world. That doesn't go back to the spirit world. The level of awareness and the consciousnesses of which the experiences in which that you did go with you, but the actual things, they stay here, if that makes sense. But there's no bad in that spirit world, and it's a lack of awareness, it's a lack of understanding, it's a lack of the knowledge that was being given at that time. And we've had great advancements in mediumship with many different individuals and great growth, you know, and mediumship development is massively accessible to you all now in every capacity. Check with the mind, because people who start talking to me about negativity, and I'm not trying to sort of have a pop here, you got to check in with the instrument. That's an instrument thing. That you're fearful of you're fearful of letting yourself down, you're fearful of embarrassment, you're fearful of self-worth, you're fearful that you're not going to be able to do the things that you ask for. Your mind's telling you that you're not capable, yet you are capable, but your mind is telling you that you are not good enough, but you are good enough. You're as good as the professionals. Even if you class yourself as a beginner, you have the potential to build bigger links than other people. It's you that's holding you back. It's the fear inside of you. It's the triggers that's letting you think that you're not good enough, and you are good enough. I kind of get that over to people. And this is what goes on in development, and I say this a lot. There's massive amounts of mediumistic development going on, but nobody's developing the instruments. So what we're doing is we're developing you as the medium, which is great, as the mediumistic person who wants to give communications, but then nobody's developing the instrument to be able to handle them situations. And that's, for me, that's something that's bled into my classes. I know there's a few of my girls on here, and fellas, I think. You've got to understand that in order to be able to continuously keep moving forward, you've got to do the mediumistic development, you've got to do the personal, you've got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what am I doing here today? Who am I? What am I about? What do I love about me? The girls were laughing at me. I was in class last night and the girls were laughing at me. I'm a woman who stands in front of a mirror and tells myself I'm beautiful every day. And you're going to be looking at me thinking, oh, well, that's dead egotistic. No, it's not. I need, for my mind to be able to continuously develop, I have to love me first. You can't connect to the spirit world if you don't love you first. You're always going to go there with an element of fear. That's not good. You need to make sure that you know you and what your integrity is about and who you are as an individual. You know, check in with you, get the garbage pulled out, check in with you and see what's holding you back. The quicker you get that pulled out and the quicker you get them triggers let off, the quicker you're going to start moving forward. And people say the spiritual journey, that's a label, you'll have heard that label. The spiritual journey is working not only as the instrument but as the medium. And when you nail both of them, you will find that your potential continues to develop and continues to move forward. Most mediums that I work with, there's nothing wrong with the development. Nothing at all. Nothing. It's the medium and the instrument that's holding them back because they think they're not good enough. Somebody somewhere has told them that they're not good enough. Somebody somewhere has told them that they're working psychically. Somebody somewhere has told them that they don't pull a communication the right way. And that's the problem. It's not the development because it's already within you. You are from the spirit world. You're connected every day to the divine. You are spirit, come from spirit and go back to spirit. It's already bled into you. It's already there at birth, that connection, that ability. But because humans and society tell you that you're not good enough, you believe him. You do, and I don't know why, because you just got to believe in you. Never mind what everybody else is doing, stay in your own lane. Never mind what other mediums are doing or what other students are doing. You do you. Do your development, and you do it well. And never mind what anybody else says about you or what everybody else. Never take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. Does that make sense? Because ultimately, them who criticize are them who are fearful. Them who do help you or support you are there because the spirit world's put them there, because they're meant to be there. And support and guidance is very different to criticizing. Support and guidance is people who actively hold your hand, but make sure you do it. I'm not going to sit and make my students, I don't do it for my students. I hold their hand and go, you do it. You know what I mean? You do it. I'm not going to do it for you. You're going to do it yourself because I'm empowering that medium to trust in their ability, to trust in themselves as that instrument. Because that's my job. I'm not here to say that's wrong, that's right, don't do this, don't do that. That's disempowering people. That's not right. That's not what we want to be doing. I'm going to say to you, here's the task. I want you to do it your way. And if you get stuck, I'll hold your hand and say, right, try it this way, try it that way. And then go back and do it your way. And that's how it should be. Not telling people this and that and the other. So I hope that answers your question. My apologies there. Was off on a bit of a rant there. Honestly, you don't need protection. There's nothing to protect you from over there. Not one thing. It's you telling you that you need the protection. So let me put this to you. Where did the idea of protection come from? Where did that idea come from? Who gave you that idea? Probably somebody. I'm never fed up with nobody, DM. Never. I am never, ever, ever, ever. No question is a stupid question. You should understand that. You should appreciate and be a good person who shares knowledge will try to answer. I always try and answer questions to the best of my ability, always. But I never try not to. I'll never fob somebody off. If I ain't got the answer, I won't give you it. I'll tell you I ain't got it. That doesn't make me any less of a person who shares knowledge. It just means I don't have that awareness. Does that make sense? But I can go away and I can learn that. But you've got to ask yourself the question, where are you getting this idea of protection from? Somebody somewhere has told you that in order for you to then bleed that into your mediumistic ability. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have put it there. And that's when mediums go away and start watching, different things and going in here and going in there. And because that particular person who's sharing knowledge has been trained that way, they then bleed that straight in to the students. And then they think, oh, well, that must be right. I don't use any protection. None whatsoever. Now, how did I? Yes, because somebody told me that. And then actually I took that out and went, I don't need that. And I haven't worked with protection for years. I don't need to protect myself because there's nothing for me to protect myself from over there. There's nothing going on there. Yes, you're holding yourself back. And a lot of mediums won't accept that. And it's not I'm trying to be mean, and it's not I'm trying to have a go. It's you can't you will tell yourself, well, if I do more development, if I do this, if I do that. But what you don't realise is if you actually sat down with yourself and checked in with you and asked yourself what was frightening you on a day-to-day basis, you probably find worked on that and the personal development and loved yourself a bit more and took your power back and stopped giving your power away to folk, you'd probably find that everything worked out just as it should for you. Honestly, I went through an experience like that, and honestly, it was amazing. I've got to be honest. But anyway, I hope that answers your question. Anyway, Timothy's asking me, can mediums communicate with reincarnated souls? Reincarnated souls is just elements of individual lessons. Reincarnated souls are lessons out of other loved ones in the spirit world that have been put into a said instrument in order to be completed. That's all for me reincarnated is. So I hope that answers your question a little bit there for you. Hello Steve, long time no see. Thank you very much for those who are answering, people. But I've got loads going on here. Hey you, missed you. Hello worship buddy. I hope you're well. Right, Tessa's asking me, do you think a lot of mediums are people pleasers by nature? I personally believe that we all people pleasers by nature, every one of us, because that's what we're being told. To be selfish is more, how dare you put you first. So, we've been instilled in programming and we've been taught from a very young age to do what others want us to do, not what we want to do. And when you put some personal boundaries up and you say to people, no, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do this, they how you hissy fit and they start getting off it. Oh, you'll be mean to me. Oh, you're not being very nice. And it's not that you're not being very nice. It's just you've got yourself some standards and you've got yourself some personal boundaries there, and people are like, I don't like that, because people don't understand personal boundaries. They don't get it, because most of us are taught from a very young age to do what others say and not what we want to do ourselves. So in answer to your question, yes, I do think everybody's a people pleaser. Do you think learning mediumship helps us to personal levels to healthier boundaries? Yes. Also, I've also been a people pleaser, but since doing mediumship, things have changed. Yeah, I would agree. You will find that, and that's where the personal journey, this is what I'm talking about, the personal journey. That's the instrument journey. That's got nothing to do with your mediumistic ability. But what it will do in turn is help the mind to release. So when we start doing, work on the inner self and the work we do as an individual, what happens is we start releasing the mind. So the mind's got less and less to fear. The mind's got less and less to hold on to. The spirit world then get more and more access. Answering short your question, yes and yes and yes to all of that. Maybe I have fear because of past info. Yeah. Dark night of the soul, again, dark night of the soul and all of that is just labels and terminologies. And I see an awful lot. And it's just where people have put a label to it. All they're saying in the dark night of a soul is that we have, something has been brought to the surface as a trauma, and it is to be worked on, it is to be looked at. That's all it is. It is a childhood wound, it is a relationship wound, it is an abandonment issue, it is a codependency issue, and it has been brought to the surface through a set of experiences in order for it to be looked at so that you can put it to bed. That's all dark night of the soul is. Dark night of the soul are just, they're just terminologies. Again, society adding labels on and making it, you know, this, that and the other. If we just talk common sense, savvy, simple terminology, it would be a lot easier, and probably we would be able to, people would probably want to do that work more. But because we put this on and that on it and put bells and whistles around it, people are like, oh no, I don't like that, and rah rah rah, instead of just saying, look, you've got a bit of an issue here with codependency, you know, let me support you through that while you do the inner work. And the inner work, again, really, people don't even know what that work means. Inner work, what we mean is you go within, you get into meditation, sitting in the power, and you start asking the soul, what do I need to work on here? What do I need to, what is the best way for me to be able to grow from this space? Because I ain't learning nothing here. I'm not growing. My mediumship's come to a grinding halt. Help me, soul. Help me as the instrument to develop me so that I can take the next step. Does that make sense? And people, you're getting outside. Go within, sit in your own energy and talk to your energy. Energy will talk to you because energy is frequency. It's always talking. It's got the answers. It's got the things that you need. You just don't want to pay attention to that because you're so caught up in old behaviors and triggers in. People don't want to step outside of comfort zones. Do you know what I mean? They're like, I'm not stepping out there. That's too scary. But you've got to be scared. And it's like that with mediumship. You've got to be prepared to take a risk. You've got to be prepared to move the mind. You've got to be prepared to get it wrong. You've got to be prepared to accept and apologize that you're getting it wrong. Otherwise, you're staying in a place that's not serving you. And then you're stuck. And now you didn't want to be stuck, but you are stuck. So I hope that answers your question a bit there for you. Your cousin knows I found I've been speaking for my mom, wondering if it's related or conscious. Not a problem, Tess, not a problem at all. Thanks, Misha. Yeah, you gotta watch how you're talking to yourself. You gotta watch how you're talking to yourself. If you're not talking to yourself in a good way, I see this on the, if you've seen plants, you know, plants up, you know, things that you put in pots and trees and stuff. If you tatter it nicely, it grows. What do you think you could do if you actually talk to yourself like that? You are fundamentally breaking habits that you've been working with for years, probably instilled by parents and people who were probably doing the best they could at that time. You got to learn to talk to yourself in a good way. You got to big yourself up. Nobody's cheering for you but you. I'm telling you, you got to learn to be kind to yourself. You got to learn to accept that you're gonna make mistakes. You got to learn to accept that you're gonna make mistakes in your mediumship. You're gonna make mistakes in life. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself a break. You're doing the best you can with what you got right now. Didn't let the other people in the lanes try to tell you how you should or shouldn't be. You're you. Do you, if that makes sense. Always, your mediumship is yours. The journey is yours. Your journey is not mine. My journey is not yours. Your relationship with the spirit world is yours and yours alone. Nobody can build that for you. I can support you and I can guide you, but I can't do it for you. You have to do it yourself. Right. Anne-Marie saying, I'm new to development, mediumship. Do you have a rise your vibration? Yeah, you just get yourself, you don't need to raise your vibration. You are the vibration. You just got to make sure your power's in a good place. You've got to be talking to it well. You've got to be looking after your energy. You've got to make sure that you're taking time out. You've got to be looking after you. You just got to be talking to yourself in a good place, if that makes sense. Because otherwise, you got to understand the power that you're using to move the mind, which is flip the switch, is the power in which that then holds the blend to keep you in the spirit world. If you're going over there with anger, then that's the vibration you're sending over with the spirit world as you're pushing the mind. If you're going over there with the power of love, the power of love's going to hold that connection a lot stronger than anger, because anger is only short bursted. Love is unconditional. It never stops. Where if you're using anger or fear, it's only holding so long, because fear is only there for so long. When you're working with unconditional love, and unconditional love of the instrument, which is the power that pushes the mind to get to the spirit world, that's unconditional. It's got staying power. You're connecting to, what we call unconditional love in the spirit world. It's a vibrational match. Bush. If you're going in with fear and trying to be with unconditional love, look at that. It's not a vibrational match. You've got to start looking at the spirit world in vibrational matches, not in people, places, and things. Look and understand energy. Look and understand vibrations. Look and understand Einstein's law. If you start looking at the science and the mechanics and the logic behind it, you understand what you're working with. If you don't understand vibrational matches and you don't understand vibrational currents, you're out of whack all the time. Therefore, no wonder your connection's not always solid. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope I'm talking some sense here. Let's have a look. I know some narcissists who don't, but that's not you. The narcissistic people, you have to appreciate. Think of it this way. People, you've got to understand that everybody's got their own challenges. You've got to appreciate it. You've got to get into this mindset as a journey and as a medium and as a spiritual person. There's many mediums out there. Billions of them. We're all mediums, right? Every one of us. But there's not many spiritual people. Spiritual people find an awareness. They find forgiveness, even for them who do them wrong. They find an awareness for those who don't know, where their minds are closed, where their minds aren't always as acceptant of the understanding of which that we understand. You've got to appreciate everybody's on their journey. It's not your job to tell them their journey. And labels, again, narcissistic labels. Can you not accept that maybe that person's mind's just not working right? Could you understand that the chemicals inside that mind may be different to the chemicals inside of your mind? Does that mean we should brand them and put labels upon them and make them feel as if they're, different from us? We yet again separate society. When we find more forgiveness for the fellow man that walks in the street for the lack of awareness and understanding in which that he has, and yet he hurts others because his own insides are hurting, would you understand? When you understand where you're coming from and where that person's coming from, then people can't even touch you because your vibrations are completely different match. Learn to look at the world through vibrational matches. You can't recognize a narcissist unless there's some kind of narcissistic trait in you, or you've had something to do with a narcissist. You can't recognize bullying unless you've either been bullied or there's an element of bullying within you, because there's got to be a vibrational match there in order to recognize them things. You can't recognize them unless you're aware of them. And this is what people don't understand. When you recognize forgiveness, forgiveness is available to you every day. When you recognize unconditional love of you and your heart, your space and the person you are, unconditional love is all you find, because that's all you're looking for. Because you don't recognize anything else. It doesn't sit on your vibrational match, on your frequency. You've got to look at it from frequency point of views, not from labels and tags in society. We are frequency. We are vibration. It's the right what they say. We say this. My nana used to always say to me as a young girl, Danielle, there's a lot of good looking nouts out there. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of good looking pretty people. But inside of them, they're broken. They're people who are struggling with their vibration. When we look at people through the soul and we look at the vibrational match and we forget the prettiness and we forget the lips and the hair and the boobs and all of this, it's what's inside. Is that person a good person? Are they kind? Are they generous? Are they loyal? Are they intelligent in respect of not intelligence of, you know, education, but emotional intelligence. I'd rather have a lifetime of emotional intelligence than somebody who was so brainy that I couldn't even understand what they were talking about. But somebody who recognises my soul and sees me for Danielle and the person that I am and loves me even with all my quirky bits. And that's how we should be looking at people. Not what tag they've got on or whether they're this or whether they're that. And even them who are that way. Can't you find just an element of forgiveness in you? Can't you find just an element of awareness in you for the human man? Because that man is your brother walking in the street. And while you might want to separate yourself from them, you are no different from that person, because each and every one of you who've sat on this stream have all been broke, all been hungry, and all have broke somebody's heart in some capacity or another. Does that make sense? Good. I'm pleased. You got to think of it that way. You've all broke people's hearts, and you've all had your hearts broken, and you've all been without, and you've all had no food at the table and all. So what makes you any different to the man that lies in that homeless bed? None. Find that awareness in you. Egos, that's it. It's egos that separate you. It's society who tells you that you must have £5 billion in the bank. What you didn't realise is you can't take £5 billion with you back to the spirit world. They don't accept dollars, dimes, pounds, and euros. They accept kindness, empathy, and awareness. Even when somebody's not nice to you, you got to find within you your ability to be nice to them or move away from them. That's what you do. You just move away. And you wish them well upon their journey and hope and pray that, you know, they find that level of intelligence within them, emotional intelligence, because that's spiritual people do that. That's what good spiritual people do. And like I say, there's many mediums out there, but very few spiritual people. Anyway, so Foxy's saying, have you noticed a delay in time between a person passing and when they're available for medium? It seems that there's some... Nope. No. That is again a misconception within the industry that we need to give people 6 months to come through. They don't need 6 months. They can turn around as quick as anything. Let me tell you a story. I was at a demonstration of mediumship. I sometimes do private events. Well, I was doing a lot of private events many years ago. And a young girl was in my congregation. A woman maybe in her 20s, 30s, something like that. Her mother had passed on the morning of my demonstration of mediumship, and her mother come through that evening on that demonstration of mediumship. Her mother wasn't even in the morgue. So in all honesty, there is no separation. They can come through as quick as that. They can come through, 10 years down the line. There is no given. Free will's at play there. Again, maybe look back into the stream of what I was talking about in regards to free will, but also the element of awareness of the medium's mind, but also it's a few different elements there. Check in with the earlier stream. I was talking about something very similar, which will probably give you a bigger answer to that question. Is there ever a reading where you never get a no? Nah. No. And you know what it is? I like the no's. A lot of you mediums didn't like no's, but I absolutely love them, me. Like, I gotta be honest. And do you know why? Because I learned something from it. If I gained something from it, I'm like, yes. What can I gain from this no? How can I challenge my mind to stretch that bit more? How can I challenge me as the instrument to find a bigger level of awareness within that no? Most mediums don't like no's. Me, I love them. But that's probably because I'm a bit weird, you know what I mean? But I love them. So for me, no, nah. And I wouldn't want it that way. I would want no's. And I do get no's. Maybe you were on demonstration meeting for me in Canada. I was in Canada 3 weeks ago. And it wasn't an easy service. It wasn't. But you know what it is? I gained a lot from it. I gained a bigger level of awareness of being kinder to myself, that I did the best I could. I went away at the spirit world and looked at how I could do things a little differently next time. Different congregations challenge me in every capacity. When you're going into training rooms or when you're going into circles, you should be like, right, how's this challenging me? What can I learn from this? You know what I mean? That's the kind of pumping you should be going in with. What can I gain from this? Do you know what I mean? Not, oh my God, What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Change it round. What can I learn from this? What can I gain from this? How can this experience challenge me in my mediumship? They're the kinds of sayings you want to be telling yourself. They're the things you want to be looking at. Let's have a look. Let's see what else is going on here. Oh, God almighty, we've got loads here. Oh, no, I'm a bit high up there. Right, let's have a look. I understand vibrational matches, easy out of whack, self-charging. Yeah, I can change and get... That's right. Change your mindset, change the vibration. Change the vibration, changes the power. Changes the power, pushes the mind, gives you stronger connections in the spirit world. Check that out. Wait a minute. Tracy's saying, disincarnated soul, commanding explain match vibrationally, just like you, Danielle. Thanks. Not a problem. Not a problem. What do you do if a sitter, absolutely does not want to have anything to do with the initial spirit you bring through? That's their choice. You can't make a sitter take a spirit. You can't. No matter what they say or what they don't say. If the sitter, it is a free will not only at the spirit world's end but also at the sitter's end as well. If you bring somebody through and they don't like that individual, the answer in short to that question is, unfortunately, if they say no, you have to send that spirit back. You've got no other choice. That is the free will of the sitter. I've got to be honest there for you. Perfect timing for the discussion. Definitely. Lemon Pie said at some point you have to get up though. Yes, that's right. You've got to get up. Unfortunately, a lot of empathy falls from them and realize they are. Yeah, and that's it. It's about you can be all the medium in the world, and that's great. But you gotta have that awareness of the spiritual aspect in you, and you can't have that unless you understand you. You gotta understand you in order to understand your development, to understand where you're going and what you're doing. People say that you can do mediumship and never do any personal development. I disagree. That's just my personal perspective. I'm not disagreeing with any other people. That's just how I find my mediumship has evolved for me over the years, and for me, it served me well, and it served me really well. So for me, it's something that I feel is really important. Have you ever had a conversation with a higher being? Again, terminology. There is no higher being. Only levels of awareness of consciousness. So some people in the spirit world have a higher level of, not higher level, have more consciousness. And I don't even like that word, more. They have a bigger understanding of the consciousnesses which they work with. So i.e. sending masters, or just have a bigger awareness of the essential understanding of conscious energy. That's all. But that doesn't mean to say that that person there who's coming through as a loved one hasn't got the same kind of level of consciousness. That person there is no different to this person in a level of awareness and consciousness. It's just that we promote that there is a higher being. But this person who's standing here with me is just as much as a higher level of consciousness. It's the perception in which that you have been taught to look at that from that perspective. That's all it is. Every consciousness in the spirit world is readily available and always learning in some capacity. Anyone else just say that up? Yeah, you will see them, Timothy. You will see them. They will fly around, honestly. A couple of weeks ago, I was in a training room, and there was like I don't know if you've ever seen the old-fashioned Superman. And he had like them 3 people in. There was 2 men and 1 woman. I'm talking Clark Kent here, you know, early 80s here. And he put them in Superman put them in one of them glass things. Then they were stuck in. He chucked it out into space. Well, I was standing doing training, and there was an orb like come across, but it wasn't round. It was flat, and inside of it was like a man's face. Oh, I wish I'd gotten it. Honestly, Tim, I should have gotten it on camera. It was amazing. Honestly, I mean, I see orbs and stuff, but that was just out of this world. Like, I've got to be honest. Yeah, you will see orbs flying around. If you watch me on a public demonstration, i.e. on a platform, you'll see that quite a bit. It goes on an awful lot for me. Like, I don't know why that is. And to be honest, I didn't mind it, to be fair. It doesn't bother me. Plus, you also get to see the spirit world a little bit, which is really nice also. Okay? Thank you so much for energy night. Yeah. So, any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to leave all of this with you for food for thought. I haven't even drank this water. I've sat here and chatted for an hour and a half. Yeah, you'll see them all the time. But that one when I seen where it was flat, like that was amazing. Like I mean, I see them bits and pieces, but that was probably the best one I've seen in my mediumship. Any other questions? Or are you all done? Been a good stream tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed. Please do give this video a likes up. It really does help with the algorithm. Share it into your groups and stuff, or you know, onto your walls and that type of thing. You know, it certainly helps with the growing of the channel. The book is here. If you want to check this one out, I think it really does resonate a lot with what we've talked about now. This book also, it's got like a development center in it, so it gives you exercises inside of it. So it's not just a knowledge book; it's also a development book, which I really like. It's available via Amazon and other platforms. What else was I gonna say? If you're interested in classes and stuff, I have got a waiting list going on for classes, so you can email the back of the website, which is www.theoddbodschoolofmediumship.com, and I can certainly give you a list of them. That's certainly available to you. Do you think our loved ones still have a big interest in our lives? Yes, of course, Tess, of course. We are. They're always available to us. Always, always available. How can I get an autographed copy? If you want to pay nearly $20, $20 I think for a signed copy, I can sign you one. If you want to email me, I can certainly do that for you. But the postage to the US at the minute is just crazy. But you know, you might have to wait, Tracy. Thanks, Danielle. Can't wait for the next course to start. You'll enjoy it. You really will. Oh, you can wait until I come out the US. I'm just waiting for the borders, dear. That's all I'm waiting for. I'm just waiting for the borders. And then it'll all go. I've got the place and everything. We're just waiting for the borders. So I wish they'd hurry up. But so you can either wait until I come out the US, or you can post it out. Yeah, it's entirely up to you. Gonna go buy it on Amazon now. Thanks. I really appreciate your time and your energy. You know, I'm seeing loads of new faces. I know some of these people are my students, but there's definitely some other new people here as well, which is really nice. And thanks for supporting the channel. You know, the channel's here for you. It's here to help you, you know, continuously evolve. You're not always going to agree with everything that I say on here, and I appreciate that. And anything I say is never meant to offend anybody. It's more to challenge you to see things from a different possibility. I'm going to get your book now. Thanks, Timothy. You know, I certainly always want to see the very best from anybody who sits on my channel and in my classes as well. And you know, it's a big passion of mine to see the next generation of mediums. So, and I'm grateful for your energy, your time, you know, all of them types of things. I'm back in, I think, a fortnight's time. Maybe get this one of your diaries or remember it on. Here's one for you. The next live stream for you is, it will be the 13th of May. So put that down in your diaries or whatever it is you write in. 13th of May. It will go up in the next couple of days on the channel. And maybe set the reminder button and stuff so you don't miss anything. It's been a pleasure. I'm off for my tea. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for being with me. Honestly, I'm eternally grateful to you all. And thank you for your questions and stuff. It's a pleasure. I just would have preferred to been a bit more dressed, but it's been one of them days. It's getting like that all the time now. It's really busy. Thank you for your likes on the video. Please do tell your friends about the channel. You know, thank you very much. I'm grateful to you. Big kisses, grateful heart, lots and lots of love. Have a great evening, great day, wherever you are in the world. Take it easy, and I'll see you all soon. All right, bye for now. Bye.